Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Transportation and Environment Committee. We are down to 2 agenda items today, a briefing on OLO Report 2020-10, the Ride-on Route and Services, and a discussion to recommend approval of a resolution. Action on the expedited bill 3620 was postponed this morning because we received late last night or early this morning some very late amendments from the executive branch, and the abandonment of the portion of the Reed Street was also postponed at the request of, I believe, the planning board. We'll come back to that when that's ready to go as well. So with that, we've dispatched with items 1 and 2, and we're to the OLO Report 2020. Ms. Bryant is here to walk us through it. Thank you so much for your great report. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Great. I'm going to share my screen. I have a short presentation to walk through. Mary, I don't have access to share my screen.
I'm so sorry about that. You should be able to share your screen now.
Thank you. There we go. Is it coming across okay? Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Bryant with the Office of Legislative Oversight. I appreciate this opportunity to brief the Transportation and Environment Committee on OLO Report 2020-10. I want to thank the Department of Transportation and numerous community stakeholders for their cooperation and assistance in completing this report. Council requested this report to better understand who uses ride-on bus services, how DOT makes changes to ride-on services, and how similar jurisdictions evaluate their transit networks. To do so, OLO examined ride-on reports, conducted stakeholder interviews with county government staff and community members, and researched best practices and decision processes in 10 case study jurisdictions. OLO reviewed DOT ride-on processes and data prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. As such, we did not evaluate the impact of the pandemic on ride-on services or decision processes. Today's presentation has 3 parts. The first is a brief overview of ride-on services. The second is major report findings, and the third is OLO recommendations. First, an overview of ride-on services and customer demographics. Ride-on is managed by and operated by DOT Transit Services Division. DOT provides ride-on bus services across 495 miles in the county. In 2018, the ride-on program consisted of 79 fixed routes that provided about 22 million total passenger boardings. Also in 2018, ride-on was being used by about 38,000 people on an average weekday. The most recent demographic profile of ride-on customers was collected in 2018 to fulfill Title VI requirements of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The act requires DOT to conduct an on-board rider survey at least every 5 years. In 2018, about 89% of ride-on customers were county residents. The majority of customers identified as Black, Indigenous, or people of color. 1/3 of customers were African Americans. 42% of customers spoke a language other than English at home. Of those speaking another language, the primary language spoken was Spanish, followed by French. Almost 1/2 of customers earned less than $30,000 annually. Turning to OLO's major report findings. Today I will discuss OLO's report findings across 4 areas. The first, goals and objectives. Second, service changes. Third, bus network redesign. And fourth, performance measures. Ride-on practices, best practices or lessons from case study jurisdictions, and conclude with an OLO summary finding. First, goals and objectives. The county last updated goals for ride-on in 2008 as part of the Strategic Transit Plan. Selected 2008 goals include doubling transit ridership by 2020, operating 100% environmentally friendly buses, 95% on-time performance, 100% fleet reliability, 25 or more park and ride lots in the county, and increased peak hour frequency to every 10 minutes or better. DOT staff report that the Great Recession delayed the implementation of many of these goals. As such, the county reaffirmed Ride-on's 2008 goals in 2014 as part of the Bus Fleet Management Plan. The Transportation Research Board found that transit agencies typically reassess their goals and objectives at least every 5 years. There should be a clear link between goals, objectives, and performance metrics. Periodic reassessments provide an opportunity to redefine and align priorities and goals for bus networks. OLO found that by the 5-year standard, RIDE-ON is overdue for a comprehensive update to its goals. OLO found RIDE-ON's goals and objectives have not been updated to reflect recent county priorities and RIDE-ON's place within the county's changing transit network. The review is timely given the introduction of the Flash 29 service, the construction of the Purple Line, and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The second discussion area is service changes. RIDE-ON service modifications can vary by type, scope, and complexity. There are generally 2 broad types of changes. The first is daily operational changes which respond to unforeseen events, like traffic, accidents, weather, or a bus mechanical failure. DOT can adjust services hourly or daily depending on the cause. The second is DOT reviews routes and services to make permanent route changes to ensure efficiency and to maximize service. For example, canceling a route, adjusting a departure time, or adding a bus stop. For this, DOT engages in an annual review process, which I will discuss further on the next slide. Turning to DOT's RIDE-ON annual service change process. Across RIDE-ON's 79 routes, all provide weekday service. About 1/2 also provide Saturday service, and an additional 1/3 provides Sunday service. DOT formally reviews RIDE-ON services 3 times per year, approximately 30 services each time. DOT engages in a routine review of 80 services per year and reviews an additional 10 to 15 services per year based on factors like new housing, customer requests, or poor performance. All services are reviewed once every 2 years. DOT initiates a larger review when a factor like the new Flash service impacts multiple routes and services. Depending on the impact and timing, the proposed changes may be reviewed as part of the triennial review process or separately during the year. DOT routinely revises RIDE-ON services in response to factors arising from within and outside the county. Some factors directly trigger a proposed service change, while factors have a more indirect effect on services over time. DOT does not automatically modify a service based on poor performance metrics. Rather, DOT evaluates proposed changes on a case-by-case basis considering a multitude of factors. DOT reports that RIDE-ON service changes are based on several factors, including performance, budget constraints, and equity. Transit agencies use service guidelines to establish criteria and define processes to evaluate and modify services. Jurisdictions reviewed by OLO use guidelines to make goals explicit and set performance standards for individual routes. This effort makes clear why one service is being held to a different standard than another service based on goals for that service category. Jurisdictions update their service guidelines routinely, often in combination with strategic plan updates. The use of service guidelines ensures that decision-making and recommendations to policymakers are objective, transparent, and aligned with the goals for public transportation. OLO found that DOT does not publish service guidelines that outline its decision-making process for making changes or describing how it prioritizes its criteria. Consequently, OLO could not determine why specific service changes are adopted or rejected. The third discussion area is bus network redesign. Several transit agencies around the country have recently undertaken a multi-year system-wide review of their transit services. As part of the network redesigns, jurisdictions perform a common set of tasks, including reviewing existing bus services, defining long-term goals, and identifying performance metrics. OLO notes that a majority of jurisdictions hire outside consultants to lead redesign efforts. OLO found that DOT has not conducted a system-wide review or redesign of the RIDE-ON network in over 20 years. In its FY21 budget request, the county executive included $1.5 million for a bus route restructuring study. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, however, the county adopted a same services budget for FY21 that could not include new spending. The fourth discussion area is performance measures. RIDE-ON collects data about vehicles, ridership, and customer satisfaction. The data enable DOT to monitor day-to-day operations, assess performance, and conduct route revisions. Performance measures collected by DOT are located on Circle 6 of the packet. To meet legal requirements, DOT routinely collects and reports transit data to the federal and state governments. For example, DOT regularly reports more than 20 standardized measures to the National Transit Database as required by the Federal Transit Administration for transit agencies across the country. DOT reports certain transit data and performance measures to County Stat and the Council as part of the annual Ride-On Route Profile, which includes 4 performance metrics for each service. DOT is currently improving its capabilities to collect real-time vehicle and passenger count data, which previously could only be extracted with significant effort. DOT expects these new capabilities to improve data integrity, shareability, and potential analysis. OLO found that case study jurisdictions track and make publicly available extensive performance metrics. Goals and performance measures selected help to inform annual evaluation of system and route performance and are included in the service guidelines. OLO found a variance in the number of measures collected. For example, the People Mover bus system in Anchorage, Alaska collects data for 19 measures, while King County Metro in Seattle, Washington collects data for 68 performance measures. OLO found that DOT collects a wealth of ride-on performance metrics to comply with various reporting requirements. However, a more limited selection of metrics are included in the annual route profile or on the County Stat Department metrics page. Further, OLO found a limited publication of ride-on reports online, and, as previously stated, a lack of documentation to determine how DOT uses metrics to inform ride-on decisions. However, the county can modify reporting of performance metrics to the council to include measures being tracked by the state and federal requirements. Overall, OLO has 3 recommendations. The first is to plan for a comprehensive review and update of the Ride-On network. The last Ride-On system-wide review was conducted over 20 years ago. Further, using the Transportation Research Board's 5-year standard, Ride-On is due for a comprehensive update of its goals and objectives. This is particularly timely because the new Flash service and the Purple Line represent significant changes to the transportation network, and the COVID-19 pandemic has posed substantial operational challenges for transit and may permanently alter employment patterns. The second recommendation is to publish written guidelines for how the county modifies ride-on services, including factors DOT considers and prioritization of those factors in service decisions. And the third is to make readily available ride-on reports and data on the county website. Explore the feasibility of including performance measures that DOT reports to the Federal Transit Administration, the Maryland Transit Administration, and County Stat in the annual route profile, and include historic data to be able to compare trends over time. Thank you, and this concludes my presentation, and I will turn it back to the chair for discussion.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's a terrific report, and we're eager to hear from DOT. Before we do, are there any my colleagues jumping in, or should we call on Mr. I think Mr. Director Conklin is here with us.
I am here, but I'm going to refer most questions to Phil McLaughlin, who is our lead service planner.
Terrific. Phil, are you hearing us?
I am. I hear you. I didn't know it was my turn to jump in or not. Yeah.
No, just checking on attendance. It's hard to tell if people don't have their screens on, and we're all still getting used to this, our new world. Okay. Do you have overall comments, or should we walk through the recommendations?
Well, I guess firstly, Stephanie and Tori did a great job of talking to all the people that we thought was important, who were important to conduct the study they did, and we were grateful they were able to talk to so many folks. We support the recommendations and look forward to putting those in place in the near future.
Well, that was easy. Okay. So, comprehensive review and update of the ride-on system and evaluating when county resources will allow for a restructuring study. That's moving ahead. You've started that planning. That's still moving ahead. Is it on track? Yeah.
Well, it was part of the FY21 budget, but obviously we delayed that due to the pandemic. So we're hopeful that we can get in sooner than later.
Could I just add in on that? What happened on that study was that the council, it was in the CIP, is $1.5 billion, and the council ended up putting it half in FY22 and half in FY23. So it's $750,000 in FY22 and $750,000 in FY23. So it should be finished by the end of calendar year 2022.
Terrific.
I did want to mention that we do have a procurement that is advertised at the moment for the professional services to do the route planning study, among other things. And that's really what we've done to advance this so far, knowing that we couldn't take it on during this unusual circumstance.
Terrific. Okay. Colleagues, any questions about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Councilmember Reamer.
Sorry, can you just clarify, is the study starting or not? I just missed what was just said.
The study has not started, no.
Is it going to start?
It's programmed to start in the second half of fiscal year 22.
It's next year.
And next year. Oh, the council, you decided as part of the budget, because this is current revenue funded. It competes with everything else that's paying for all kinds of operating costs, to defer that basically by about a year.
Okay.
And what Chris was saying was they've started the procurement process so that when FY22 rolls around, they don't lose a lot of time.
The contractor will be available to us when it is funded to get it underway.
Right.
Great. Can you repeat what you said about splitting it into two parts, though, Glenn?
It's just that the money is showing half in fiscal year 22 and half in fiscal year 23.
Right.
That it's, it once it starts, it's going to continue, obviously, until it's done.
But it doesn't start till the second half of 2022.
Well, that's where the money's showing. It could be that DOT might decide to actually start it earlier in FY22 and just they spend it how they spend it. The appropriation that is anticipated is for $750,000. If the exec wants to come back in this next recommended CIP amendments and say he'd like to have the appropriation happen more balanced towards FY22 than FY23, of course he can recommend that. There's time to do that. All I'm saying is, as of this moment, the way it shows up in the budget is $750 in FY22, $750 in FY23.
Or if my colleagues wanted to do that. Right. Okay.
Well, sure. Yeah. In terms of what the executive starts with and then comes with you, obviously.
Right. Yep. Okay. Councilmember Glass.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Bryant, for your work on this report, and also extend my appreciation to our former colleague, Ms. Tori Hall, who started working on this and is now continuing her great service over at the Maryland General Assembly. The timing of this in some circumstances is unfortunate, but the timing is actually good. A number of us within the hour had a conversation about public transportation and about the cuts to WMATA. And what this report has done is shown us exactly who's taking our buses, right? I find that a really revealing and important component of this entire conversation and how we're going to move forward, recognizing that 78% of ride-on riders are people of color. And nearly 50% of riders earn less than $30,000 a year. And so as we're talking locally, regionally, nationally about cuts to transit agencies and public transportation in general, that's who we're talking about. And that's why this is a really important conversation, and the data is just so important. And so I'm glad we were able to dig into that. And when I had requested this report last year or a year and a half ago, whenever it was, I had originally asked for it because the county has grown so much. Another constant theme that we had earlier this morning, talking about the redistricting commission, recognizing the incredible growth throughout the county, all corners of it, quite frankly. And there are things that we've done to accommodate that growth and adapt to it, and our bus service really hasn't done that. There are tweaks that are made on a semi-annual basis or so, but by and large, there hasn't been a wholesale look at what needs to be done to accommodate the new growth and to accommodate the demographics that we know are reliant on the buses. And so this is, I'm just going to keep saying, really important information, and I hope it drives us in the right direction so that we can have a more fair and equitable transit system and one that remains funded so that people can continue commuting around our community. And with the recommendations, I would say that we should take them up. I think the recommendation, I'm looking at it right now, the goals and objectives that have been in existence since 2008, haven't been updated. And no one here on the council was here in 2008, and we've had different another county executive and DOT directors since then as well. And so I think the confluence of all of these events, from the pandemic to the conversation that we're having organically about growth and population here in the county, just demand it. And so I'm glad that there's money in the CIP to keep moving forward. But the timing and stars are aligning for us to take another look and do right by all of our residents.
I can just say a couple of things, Councilmember Glass. I really appreciate your advocacy in organizing the meeting you had today regarding the WMATA budget. Transit service isn't evenly distributed in this county between what WMATA provides our residents and what we provide our residents. So the dramatic scale of cuts that WMATA is proposing are going to be a very significant challenge for us to respond, so that we continue to have equitable distribution of these services and access for our residents in the face of sort of one party making cuts and the other having to respond. So we are very hopeful that there's action to backstop the WMATA budget. They're not proposing these things because they want to. And any efforts that you or your colleagues or others undertake to encourage action in Washington to support funding of these transit agencies is really important. The other thing you mentioned, our ridership. I wanted to just comment a little bit about the ridership that we've seen. Our ridership is at about half normal levels, which is significantly more than WMATA's. WMATA's bus ridership is at about 40%, and their rail ridership is oscillating between 10 and 20% of normal. So our residents are using our services, and they're using them for many activities other than commuting to work. And I just want to reinforce how important it is that those services stay available for access to food, grocery, medicine, education, social services, all these things that people rely on transit for. And we've, for many years, been encouraging people to use transit as a primary mode of transportation. And it's incumbent upon us to keep it available so that people can meet their needs if they've decided to use it either as choice or if they have to use it out of necessity. So thank you for your advocacy, particularly on the WMATA component.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right, and thank you for highlighting some of those differences in ridership levels, because we know that the ride-on users are either feeding to WMATA, right, or they're staying within their community, going to work, going to school, going to the grocery store, and these are essential services. And these are essential jobs that people have and have to take the buses for because they have no other options. They are literally stranded without these. And the difference between the services and the impacts that you mentioned regarding Metrobus, the most served bus line that, as I understand it, in the state of Maryland is the Veers Mill corridor, which is a WMATA bus line, and then you mix the Q bus lines, which is the Veers Mill corridor, with the Z bus lines along Colesville Route 29, and you have the most underserved parts of two of the most underserved corridors in Montgomery County in terms of residential need, and those are WMATA lines. So you're absolutely right. We'd have to pick up the slack somehow. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
Thank you, Councilmember Glass, for those comments, and thank you, Director Conklin. You're right on point as well. I look at this report in a lot of ways. We could talk about it all afternoon, but often I'm so glad this was on your work plan, Ms. Bryant, and so glad that it's not a surprise at all. OLO always does such a great job, but this report is right on time. Often when you gather data and analyze it, it tells you what you already think you knew, but it buttresses your argument, and it's sort of what Colin Powell used to call a force multiplier. It makes your argument a lot stronger, particularly in this environment. In the after we have passed a racial equity and social justice policy and made a commitment to focus on this, I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody that our bus riders are proven to be who we thought our bus riders are. But now we need to have the courage to keep the commitments we made to actually fund the transformation of the system and support our ride-on service and its modernization. There are many demands on our operating budget and our capital budget, and this is a critical piece that is an absolute necessity for such a large portion of our population. A report like this will really come in handy both now and as we approach the budget season. So I'm really grateful to have it. Can we move on, Director Conklin, to the second recommendation, publishing written guidelines. Maybe I'm talking past the sale here since you already support all the recommendations, but publishing written guidelines for how the county modifies ride-on services, including the factors that DOT considers and how you prioritize those factors. Any comments on that?
Again, I think this is perfect for Phil to respond to, but we're happy to move forward with being more transparent about what these metrics are and how we use them. But Phil, why don't you talk about the factors you consider when you're doing the route assessments?
Yeah, I think how this sort of came about in this study, in talking to Stephanie and Tori throughout the summer, is when we talk about some of the factors we consider when making service changes, they would say, well, can I just go to the website and get this? And it's not, we don't necessarily publish them. And so the recommendation is to publish them. But some of the factors we consider, obviously we look at ridership. So we're looking at trends continuously, whether they're upward trends or downward trends, and modifying service to make sure we have enough capacity where the demand is. So oftentimes we'll apply a Peter and Paul principle. One route's performing stronger than another at a certain time of day, and we take some resources from one particular route, maybe a trip or two, and redeploy them.
Peter and Paul principle?
Yeah, take from Peter.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul, okay.
Yeah. So and
that
oftentimes,
was transportation jargon for a minute, sorry.
And oftentimes that's on a fairly small scale, 2 or 3 trips here, 2 or 3 trips there, just to make sure that we have enough capacity and there's not a negative impact from where we're taking the resources from. So that's fairly routine. We do that on a regular basis. We're continuously looking at employment and residential changes. We're tied in closely to park and planning programs that are coming through there, so we kind of know where the development is. We consider that as we're making service changes. We're tied into local work groups within the county, whether it's with DGS or DOT, to make sure that we understand where the development's coming, what the demand may be, and how can we reprogram. So that's a sort of a routine thing. We do a lot of regional coordination with WMATA. We were just talking about, Councilmember Glass was just talking about WMATA service along, Veers Mill, and there's WMATA service along Randolph Road and East-West Highway. We have bus services in those corridors as well. So we make sure that we're coordinating our trip time so that we provide as evenly a spaced headway as possible for those riders in those communities, because we have the same fare network. We're all within the same fare network. So to a rider who lives along Randolph Road, it doesn't necessarily, and they're going to Glenmont Station, it doesn't necessarily matter if they're taking the C8 or they're taking our Route 10. It still gives them an expedited trip to get to Glenmont. So we spend a lot of time on regional coordination. This is all for the fixed route side. As you know, last year we launched our first demand response, our ride-on flex service. We started that in July of 2019. We only ran it through March because of the pandemic, and we haven't relaunched it yet. We will relaunch that soon. But we had a lot of success, and we introduced transit to some riders who hadn't been using public transit before. So we hope to expand that program over the coming years. To reintroduce, to expand to new service areas and to attract new riders to use transit. So those are some of the strategies we look at when we're redesigning bus service.
Thank you. That's very helpful. And I don't see any comments on that. Can we just move on to the third recommendation very quickly? Director Conklin, you already mentioned you're embracing transparency, but you're happy to make the reports and data available on the county website.
Yeah, that's correct.
I'm sorry, Chris. Yeah.
No problem, Phil. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so some of the things we had talked about with internally after looking through the draft report is, we measure on-time performance, we measure ridership by route, ridership by time of day. These are things that we could consider publishing on a regular basis, whether it be monthly or quarterly or even annually, things that are readily available to customers to go to our website and find out. That information is not currently available. And we certainly have lots of the data, but I think we want to make sure that we have the right data that we're displaying so that customers aren't necessarily misled or it doesn't necessarily answer a question they may have. So we're going to consider on-time performance, ridership, customer complaints, some other potential metrics as well to publish on our web.
Terrific. Thanks.
And just along those lines, we did apply for a federal innovation grant about a month ago that would allow us to be more real time about some of the data. So we have passenger counters on the bus, and if we're fortunate enough to receive this grant, it'll allow us to publish information about whether or not approaching buses are full or available and that kind of information, so that riders can plan their trip more effectively and take advantage of the capacity that we do have available.
Mm-hmm. Terrific. Could we just talk about the comprehensive review for a minute? I know none of us were here, I think, in 2008. So the best practice is to review these every 5 years. We haven't done that, and we're very glad you're moving ahead. Do you have a cost estimate for the review?
We don't have a specific cost estimate yet. We haven't put a scope out for somebody to price it. The estimate that's in the CIP is based on a study that Arlington County did assessing their transit network. And their network is much smaller than ours, and they were around $750,000 in their study. So given the much more significant complexity of the operation in Montgomery County, we are thinking it's about double the effort Arlington did. But again, that's a budget number, and we'll get a price for the study once we've selected somebody to lead it for us.
Great. And given the findings of the report, can you talk for a minute about how you plan to incorporate a racial equity and social justice lens to the update of your objectives and goals during the comprehensive review?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. We have some experience with that from adjusting the service during the pandemic. Phil may have other information about whether we've considered that in the past, but we looked very closely at zero car households and other income and demographic information to identify transit dependent populations. And I think that's one way that we would try to incorporate that in the system redesign, is to make sure that the services are available for those that don't have an option except to use it. And I think that's a major departure from a lot of the criteria that have been used in particularly Federal Transit Administration project decisions, where it's always been how many new riders are you getting.
Right.
I think we need to take a focus on, are we providing the best service we can for the people who use our system, rather than are we just creating shiny new services to attract new riders. So I think that's a major departure from more traditional transit planning, and would influence the work that we do in this study.
Can you, to that end, can you talk a little bit about how you're thinking of engaging riders and community leaders and just other transportation stakeholders as you're making those decisions?
Well, we haven't formulated that sort of that detail yet, but I imagine that I'm certain we will engage people on our vehicles. Mm-hmm. And we've done some of that with the launch of the Flash, for example, where we've called them ambassadors out there to help explain the system. I think we would have a similar approach to ask riders how they're using it, what's good about it, what's not good about it. We would likely do open meetings if we're able to have open meetings in different portions of the county, sort of open house types meetings. I think depending on exactly how we scope this, we could have an outreach program where we're visiting existing community groups in their community, either through community events, religious institutions, or other things like that, to talk to folks who don't voluntarily participate in our government-led processes to make sure we're getting broad input. But yeah, at the moment, we don't have a detailed scope for the outreach, but I think those are some of the types of tools, the in-person tools at least, and certainly we would have online ability for feedback into that as well.
That's great. Do you have, that sounds right on. Do you have staff in mind for that responsibility?
Not at this time. I mean, Phil's team would lead this effort as they do all of our service planning. But no, we have not identified specific staff yet.
Can you elaborate a little on your ambassador program in the Flash?
Yeah, it was part of the COVID Corps where we had sort of temporary workers that were younger folks, and they were at the various Flash stations talking to people who were either planning to use it or curious about the service, and explaining where it goes, the schedules, how it works, how the fare systems will work once they're up and running, the information that's available. And they were getting feedback from those passengers on, whatever minor issues we were having with the service launch, whether the real time was showing schedule rather than the actual bus arrival times. We had some issues like that. There was some curiosity about the wheelchair securement system. There were some, giving us feedback about some headway management. The buses were bunching in some cases, and giving us information about their experience using it. The vast majority of that feedback was positive. People were enjoying the system, but it was helpful for us to hear from the passengers about the things that were glitchy as this thing gets rolling. So, and we've been able to address most of those issues as they've happened. We don't yet have detailed ridership information for it, but Phil's team has done some sampling, and at the moment it's the third busiest service in the ride-on system. So we're expecting that to continue to grow.
Wow, that's great. I think it's my last question. Can you talk about your efforts to align your planning and your operations with other county-wide planning efforts like Thrive Montgomery 2050 or the Climate Action Resilient Plan or the Transit Corridors Master Plan?
Sure. Well, first of all, let me step back a little bit. Phil talked a little bit about our coordination with WMATA, and we're also actively working with Howard County on integrating the Central Maryland Transit Network into the ride-on system, the Flash system in particular. In Thrive Montgomery, there's a huge emphasis on the bus rapid transit program implementation and trying to have a more transit-first strategy for transportation. So I think that's consistent with the work that we have going on to advance planning and design on those corridors. We've been working with the planning department on the Thrive plan. I think there are some legitimate and still significant concerns about how do you get from today to that vision, and I think there's more conversation needed with that for Thrive. You asked about a couple other things too. The transit corridors plan, that's moving forward as we have funding for the planning and design of the BRT corridors. And I thought you had a third part to that question that I may have lost.
Thrive, Climate Action, Resilience, and
Climate Action.
Yeah.
Very good. The Climate Action Plan, obviously, we have a huge component of our carbon emissions from the transportation sector. It's 42%. And there are really two main strategies for addressing that. The first which is the more important one, is making transit an attractive competitive mode, which a lot of these other plans that we've talked about is focused on. And then the second is the greening of the transit fleet. And I know you're familiar with the first set of electric buses that we have. There's also an active procurement underway now for the next set of those. And we're working closely with our
40?
10. The next one is 10. So there'll be 14 after that procurement is complete.
Is there a larger one in the pipeline after that? Do I remember?
We don't have an active contract for buses beyond that at the moment. So the next procurement will emphasize either electric or fuel cell or other zero emission technology. And we're working closely with Fleet Division of DGS as they're looking to create more charging capacity in these depots through public-private partnerships where solar arrays would be installed over the bus yards to provide that capacity, and also to see if there are any innovative financial tools to drive the cost of the electric buses in line with our current budget, which is based around clean diesel buses. We haven't changed the fleet mix in the CIP at the moment because we're trying to figure out whether we can get the cost of the electric vehicles more competitive and not spend more money on the vehicles, but get the types of vehicles we want. And we also have issues with, and the study that, the comprehensive study is important to this. We have issues that our routes and our daily service runs are longer than a battery electric bus can currently provide. So the technology will improve over time, but at the same time, we need to look at whether we can adjust our route configuration so that they can be supported by battery electric. And we're really interested in fuel cell for some of our longer services because you get a lot more productivity out of a refueling from a fuel cell than battery electric. So that's part of the consistency with the climate plan.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for my colleagues? I want to make sure I didn't miss any text. Okay. Well, thank you all, and thank you again to Ms. Bryant. This is a terrific step forward for us. It's going to be very helpful, and it's going to continue to pay dividends as we go into the budget season. So thank you all for your hard work. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Phil.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, we're to the final item. Mr. Orland, Dr. Orland.
Hi. I just want to follow up on one last thing from the last discussion, which is in the current CIP for FY22, what's budgeted is enough money to buy 13 hybrid buses. But again, this is a project in the CIP where the executive often makes revisions every year. So when he comes over, either in January or maybe even as late as March, he may have a different recommendation. Of course, the council, like you said, makes the final decision. But as of right now, the money in FY22 is for 13 diesel electric hybrids. It's really timely we have this next item on the agenda because it's very closely related with the first item, and also it goes straight to the racial equity and social justice aspect of it. Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act requires that the services be provided in a way that's not discriminatory. And the Federal Transit Administration requires that each major transit operator produce a set of reports at least every 3 years to document what the compliance is and what the implementation is to achieve that compliance. And that's what's before you today. And what you're being asked is to basically approve the reports for transmission to the Federal Transit Administration. The last series of reports was actually done 2.5 years ago. It was in the spring of 2018. In the packet, all I've done really is to just summarize what the purpose of these reports are, and I tried to on one page. It's a little wonky, but tried to boil down to just one page the main results of looking at 6 different ways of looking at the transit service to see whether or not the service is being provided in a way that's discriminatory or non-discriminatory. And the result is we are doing okay. We're doing fine in these areas. But before we get into that, or if we do get into that, I'd like to turn it over to Deanna Archie. Deanna's with the DOT and is their Title VI coordinator, and she has a small, a brief presentation to give. So Deanna, over to you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll see if I can share the screen.
Should be able to. There you go.
Just a second. I'm not seeing it on here. Hold on 1 second.
It was up briefly, then it went away.
Ms. Archie, you do have privileges.
Okay.
But if you need,
Are you able to see it now?
No, we don't see it yet. It was up briefly about a minute ago, then it went away after about 10 seconds.
so if you select that share screen, you should be able to specifically pick the PowerPoint program, and it will share that for you.
Okay.
Would you like to email me your presentation and I can go through the slides for you?
Okay, are you able to see it now?
No.
No.
Okay, let me try. Yeah. One last try.
Oh,
It looks like you got it, or we see your screen right now.
Mhm.
Okay, bear with me. I'm sorry. How about now?
no. No, it's not up. Oh, something's coming. That's it. It's just your screen again.
Not sure why. I'm sorry.
Deanna, why don't you email it to Mary Wright,
Okay.
and she'll post it. And meanwhile, while you're doing, once you do that, we can talk for a couple of minutes while she's uploading it.
Ms. Archie, I just sent you an email, so you would easily have my email.
Okay. Okay, you should have it now.
I'm still waiting to receive the email. I just wanted to confirm that you sent it to mary.c.wright@montgomerycountymd.gov. Ironically, 2 Mary Wrights started the same week at Montgomery County, so we have been getting each other's emails.
I replied
But
to
if
the
you
one
sent
that you
it to
sent.
the email that, yeah, if you sent it there, I should definitely get it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it looks like I've not received anything. I have no messages in junk mail or anywhere.
Okay, let me try it again. Let me check my sent. Yeah, at 2:29, it said sent.
If you want to check that it's still not in your outbox, or I'm not sure if Glenn, you have the PowerPoint. Oh, Speak of the Devil just came through.
Okay.
All right, and I'm going to share it right now. Feel free to just let me know when you would like me to go to the next slide.
Okay, there we are. Thank you, and I sincerely apologize for the technical difficulty. And I do appreciate you allowing us to come and provide a brief overview of our Title VI plan. Next slide, please. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed into law by Lyndon B. Johnson under this Civil Rights Act of 1964 to prohibit discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, and later the sexual orientation and gender identity. Next slide. And the Title VI evolved from within this Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination based on race, color, and national origin. Next slide. Under the Title VI plan, as it has been mentioned, we are required to provide a plan every 3 years. And within that plan are several components. Our is the language assistance plan, our public participation plan, as well as our compliance monitoring report. Our initial plan was submitted in 2014. Another submittal update was in 2017. And now upon us is our 2020 submittal. Next slide. Along with the 3-year submittal, we are also required to provide a Title VI survey every 5 years. And the purpose of this survey is to what we provide now, the data that we provide is from our census data. What the Title VI does is it drives more into who our riders are. So the census tells us where within our service area minority populations reside. the census data, the survey data gives us that detailed information of who our riders are. What we have derived from the survey is that 80% of our riders are minority. Some of the highest percentage of breakdown of Black and African American descent, the Hispanic population, as well as Asian. We've also learned that 66% of our riders make less than, earn less than $50,000 a year. Next slide. We also learned through the survey, highest percentage of our Smart Trip usage. The second highest is Montgomery College student pass, followed by our senior and disabled passes. Next slide. And during the survey, we took it upon ourselves to add some customer satisfaction questions to include our on-time performance ratings, just how our customers feel about our bus operators and the conditions of our vehicles, and the overall acceptance of our service. Next slide. And then with our compliance monitoring report, which falls under the umbrella of the entire plan, is where most of our data is stored. And under the compliance monitoring report, we have our service standards and policies, and some of those are outlined here as our vehicle load factors. We check our average headways, on-time performance, the average age of our vehicles, service accessibility, and as well as our transit amenities. And as Glenn had mentioned, our statistical test that we performed under the monitoring report shows no disparity within our services. Next slide. And under the Title VI report, it requires our governing body to perform the task at hand. If you could click, please. To review and approve the Title VI plan, to review and approve our compliance monitoring report, as well as review our fair equity analyses whenever consideration of fair changes are being proposed. Next slide. And now in conclusion, we respectfully request that after review of the plan, that you will approve our 2020 Title VI implementation plan. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Archie. That's terrific. Dr. Orlin?
Yeah, I'd want to draw your attention to the second page of the packet. And unfortunately, I'm working off my iPhone, so it's difficult for me to share screen, so hopefully you can just look at it. But I'll just summarize the data in there. Ms. Archie mentioned the 6 characteristics that are looked at in the compliance monitoring report. And what on 4 of these items, what DOT did was to rank order all of the bus routes according to minority ridership on it. So the top route would be the one with the most minority ridership, and the bottom would be the least. And they divided that list into quartiles. So four quartiles. And what they were looking at is the results of a particular metric different for the top 2 quartiles, in other words, the ones with the heavily minority ridership, versus the system as a whole. And so, for example, for vehicle load factor, the standard is that on a regular bus route, there shouldn't be more than 20% more than capacity. And by capacity, I mean the number of seats. So are there more than 20% of the people on the bus standing? And on an express bus, is the load factor 100%, or is it worse than 100%? In other words, are there people standing at all? are basically all the seats filled, or so that there's not any that are standing. And what was found was that in the first two quartiles for the minority routes, there's actually less of the overcrowding than there is on the system average when you look at both of those. So there's not a disparity there. Average headways, you find more or less the same answer, which is that the headways typically are, and the headways we're talking about is the time between buses, right? It's not, frequency is the number of buses per hour. Headways is the time between a particular bus. In the first quartile, for example, for minority routes, the top half of the routes, in the morning there's 23.4 minutes on average between the buses that are running. But for the system as a whole, it's 24.6. So they're running a little bit more frequently than buses as a whole. So again, no disparity. Midday, you find the same kind of result, 26.7 in the first quartile versus 28.7 countywide. And PM peak, 23.9 versus 24.7. And at nighttime, 28.3, 29.4. Not much difference, but the difference, if anything, is on the side of showing that the minority routes are actually running a little more frequently than the buses than the system as a whole. On-time performance, for the first quartile, it's 69.8% are running no more than 1 minute early or 4 minutes late, while 71.9% for the system average. So that's and then second quartile is 72.1. So it's really very close there. I would say that on average it might be a little longer for the minority routes, like a fraction of a percent. But when you take into account the standard deviation, when you already do surveys like this, you have to take into account that there is a variance according to the size of the sample, and it falls well within that. The average age of the buses that the minority ridership is also roughly the same as what it is for the system average. And the last two, service accessibility, what portion of the minority population in the county are within a quarter mile of a bus stop? And 90.9% of minority population is, while 89.7% of the total population. Again, very, very close, but showing the minority population a tiny bit more accessibility. And amenities, it's also showing the same result. The number of shelters per 1,000 minority persons is 8.89 for the minority routes, 0.78 for the system as a whole. And the number of benches at bus stops, it's virtually the same. It's 1.3 benches per 1,000. So again, that's the summary of what that table is in the second page. At your leisure, I'd urge you to sort of skim a lot of the report that's attached to this packet, a lot of really good detailed information about the system. A lot of it mirrors what you saw in the OLO report. A lot of it is based on the survey that was taken in late 2018. So it's a little bit old in that respect. Obviously, it's pre-COVID. But nevertheless, it's a good snapshot of what the system's like. So with that, I'm recommending you approve the resolution, which would forward this set of reports to the FTA for their review and approval.
Terrific. Thank you. Colleagues, any questions?
Yeah.
Or last.
Thank you for this. That's a pretty deep dive into our system, right, and how it's used. And so, thank you, Dr. Orland, for walking through that chart, and Ms. Archie for the presentation. Glad we waited and got that up and running. You know, one of the things that struck me, and I think my slide, the video was a little too small for me to see, or just my aging eyes, but the slide where you talked about the access and how people are actually paying to get on the ride-on, I think you had said 60% are using SmartTrip. And then after that is the Montgomery College Pass. And, the reason that stuck with me is because, just I think yesterday, the District of Columbia passed some legislation banning cashless, businesses. And at the state level, the governor has moved forward with banning cash for toll roads. And so I know there's this ever increasing creep to make our transit system cashless as well. And because I didn't see it, could you share what percentage of users use cash when accessing Ride-On? And you're muted.
Sorry, I believe it's on the slide, Mary. If you could, just under the regular cash fares, 6.4%, and just slightly under the senior and disabled.
Yeah, I mean that's not a lot at all. But clearly, there are still 6.4% of people who are using cash. So, okay, really interesting stuff, and important to send off to the feds, and important to keep track of here for all the reasons that we talked about in the previous conversation as well. So, thank you for your work.
Councilmember Glass, just one other point on the cash use. A lot of customers reload their Smart Trip card but don't store significant value on the card. So even though they're using their Smart Trip card, they are essentially using cash for the trip, and they get their free transfer and real discount that way, but they're not tying up resources as stored value on the card.
So you're actually saying that the some percentage of that 6.4% just don't have enough cash on or a reloadable option like I do on the Smart Trip?
Some element of the Smart Trip users are actually cash because they're reloading as they go.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Hi, this is Phil McLaughlin. So yeah, that activity occurs on the bus because, when you're at a metro rail station, you can load value onto your card at the metro station. But so many of our routes don't have, the riders don't access the metro station. They load the value while they're on the bus.
And so if you're loading it on the bus, that's considered cash?
No, that'll show up as assuming they loaded it onto a Smart Trip card and used that Smart Trip card, like Chris was mentioning. Okay. That allows for network connectivity.
Very good. Okay. Thank you for that. That's interesting as well. I yield back.
Great. Thank you. Councilmember Reamer, are we good?
Yeah, we're good. I mean, I've always viewed transit service and bus service as a critical part of our civil rights agenda and our social justice agenda. And I think it has often not been viewed that way necessarily. It's just been viewed as bus service and, not necessarily distinguishing it. But like public education and other critical public institutions, I think transit and bus service are a key part of how we build the community that we really envision. So I'm pleased to see the results of the report, and I'm glad this is a requirement. I think I'd heard about this before, but indeed I may have seen this presentation at a previous round of it, but it was helpful to see, and I think we do need to get back to our previous conversation about really moving forward on the kind of more incremental envisioning of improved bus service. I think a lot of momentum has been kind of sucked out of the room, frankly, around bus rapid transit over the years. And, bus rapid transit is the end goal, I think, of the service that we want, but there's a big kind of lot of ground to cover to get there. And I think we need to be able to really fill that gap. We got a lot of service in the county that's not going to turn into bus rapid transit, overnight. And a lot of it will never be bus rapid transit, but it could still be a lot better. It could be better bus service. And we can provide that service through the kinds of approaches that we're, been alluding to today. And I wish the county could put more emphasis on that. I think there's a lot to be gained, and it's relatively modest cost. It doesn't cost hundreds of millions or billions. It might cost tens of millions, but you can get a big impact. A big ridership impact, from more modest investments. If you aren't, as Director Conklin was pointing out, sort of chasing the choice riders, but servicing those who, are the existing ridership. Obviously we want to add riders, we want to grow riders, but I think there's just a lot to be said for believing in the bus system that we have and trying to make it better. And that's certainly been, my thinking over the years. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Reamer, we're going to be sharing a proposal just along those lines with you in
Great.
the coming weeks.
That's right. I think
linking the Shady Grove metro area.
Yeah, next week or something. Good. I'm not surprised to hear that. You, Director Conklin, and you and the team, you've always been very pragmatic thinkers, and I think, DOT, I think, has had a similar philosophy for a long time. So what we need to do is all pull together and figure out what it's going to take and get behind it.
Agreed. Okay. So with that, do we have a motion for the resolution?
Let's approve the resolution.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Archie. Okay, all those in favor, I'll just point out, Mr. Conklin, the name of our county is misspelled in the resolution. You might want to fix that. I think you're going to slip this past us, but you're not. Okay, all those in favor, I think that's without objection.
That's it.
We will correct that.
Terrific. Good resolution. Thank you all for your hard work on this. Thank you again, Ms. Archie, for a great presentation and report. And we will bring this to the full council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Orland, anything else for us?
No, just to say that this is going to be on the council's agenda for next Tuesday for approval on the consent calendar.
Terrific. Okay. Without further ado, we're adjourned. Thank you all.